The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon and welcome to the SIGA webinar. Excuse me, my name is Lori Fox. I'm the chair of SIGA and I'm your host today. I have a few housekeeping items and a few announcements. By default, everyone is muted. The session is being recorded and it will be posted on our YouTube channel and our website next week. You can ask questions during the webinar and I will see them and will, contact our presenters to let them know we have questions. And if everyone could either raise your hand or say hello in the question window, then I'll know that you heard me. Now, guys, you can hear me, right?
Yes, we can.
Because I don't see any hands or any questions.
Oh, no.
There's a hand. Thank you, Alan. Was that Alan's hand? Just double check. Oh, there's Kathy too. Okay, thanks, Alan. Excuse me. I was telling our presenters that I'm having a very unusual day. Our campus is on lockdown today, so I'm home with my dog, and actually both of my children are home too. It's my first time doing a webinar from home. We'll see how this goes. We have 2 more webinars scheduled before the conference. There's another one on August 16th, which is how to create an effective poster. I'm actually very excited about this one. I have only ever created one poster for a SIGA conference, and it was just to advertise something that the board was doing. So I'm very excited to hear from Bethelyn Nolan about how to create an effective poster. And on September 27th, the SIGA First Timers webinar will be presented. Those are also great webinars, whether you've been to the SIGA conference a couple of times or a lot of times, because it's a great way to get a lot of insider tips about what we're going to be doing in October. Speaking of the conference is coming up in just a few months, October 7th through 10th in Orlando, Florida. Very excited to head to Florida and get together with all of our SIGA friends and hear the fantastic presentations. You still have time to sign up for pre-conference seminars. The first one I want to talk just a little bit extra about, it's called Business Behind the Magic. It's presented by the Disney Institute, and it is focused on customer service and the Disney way. The Disney customer service process is legendary, and it's a really great opportunity to get some behind the scenes information from Disney. We do have a minimum sign up requirement that we have not met yet. So if you are thinking about the Business Behind the Magic pre-conference seminar, please sign up very, very soon so that we are sure that there's room for you and that it happens. The other 3 pre-conference seminars also look great. One is about being an inspirational leader. There is a seminar on project management, and then a great diversity and inclusion seminar. The hotel looks fantastic, the Coronado Springs Resort. When we're fortunate enough to stay right on the Disney campus, we are able to use Disney's Magical Express from the airport to the hotel, which is one of my favorite things about staying at Disney, because you don't have to get your luggage. You just get on the bus and Disney takes care of magically getting your luggage to your hotel room. That's my favorite part of the Magical Express. We also have full access to all of the amenities at the hotel, including the bus service. Self-parking is free if you're in the area, and you also can purchase discount Disney park tickets. Registration's open, so get your registration in, again, especially if you want to attend a pre-conference seminar. Just a reminder that joining SIGA's very reasonable, $25, gets you conference discounts. It also discounts the pre-conference seminars, and you have access to the ACM Digital Library. You can stay in touch with us, make sure you're on our email list, part of the Facebook community, and follow us on Twitter. So now I'm going to turn over the presentation, and bear with us as we do a little magic of our own here, and I'll turn it over to Gale and Bill. Gale, I'm going to mute myself, but I'm paying attention, and I'll hop in if you need anything or if we have a question that I feel like I want to interrupt you for.
Okay, great.
All right.
Okay, I think I shared the screen the correct way. Can you see it?
Yes, you did share it the correct way.
Great, great. All right. Hi, my name's Gale Fritsche. I work at Lehigh University, and I'm here along with Bill Bettermann from Lehigh as well. And we're presenting enhancing the performance of cross-functional teams. And this is a topic that you know, a lot of people are interested in because, you know, there's with so much more collaboration going on, you know, at organizations, that cross-functional teams are usually the norm these days. At Lehigh, you know, Lehigh, we're actually located about 90 miles west of New York City, probably about an hour north of Philadelphia, kind of nestled outside of the hustle and bustle of those two cities. We have, you know, somewhere around 7,000 students total, 506 faculty, and about 1,200 staff. Library and Technology Services is merged. It's a merged organization, meaning that libraries and computing are merged into one organization. We were restructured that way in 1996, and you know, it's been a work in progress ever since. And you know, that's where the cross-functional team experience comes into play, because basically everything we do and all the teams that we have are cross-functional teams. There are four colleges: arts and sciences, engineering, business, and education. And here's just a real quick shot of you know, our organization, and we're all led by the vice provost of Library and Technology Services. His name's Bruce Taggart, is our leader, and many of you, he's been here for a while. Many of you may know who I'm talking about. You know, he has basically 5 direct reports. We're split up under him. We're split up. You know, our technology is split up as well as the libraries, and we have instructional technology on under one group, as well as our Chief Information Security Officer. Okay, you know, a good cross-functional team, you have to, you know, most organizations are pretty diverse as far as the client base that you support. And, you know, because of that, you know, cross-functional teams are essential in providing, you know, good support for these wide range of clients. And also, our clients are very diverse in higher ed, as many of you probably know. You've got everything from the admin, president's office, you know, dean's office, and that sort of thing. You know, and a lot of these cross-functional teams have to come out of them a lot of unique skills, because we have, you know, different everything from different personality types to technical skills that are needed to support different areas within the university.
So, hi, this is Bill, by the way. Let's review some of the characteristics that we anticipate for cross-functional teams. specifically the fact that a team, cross-functional teams is a team of peers with viewpoints drawn from their professional, academic, and institutional experience, and that can be a wide range of experiences. We anticipate a good blend of diversity and personality. At Lehigh, we have a support structure for each college that is comprised of blended teams that provide their expertise for a wide spectrum of disciplines, such as business, education, STEM to humanities and social sciences, and so on. So by default, and as a result of those support needs at such a wide range, we can anticipate having an equally wide range of experience and expertise for our cross-functional teams. Our support framework aligns professional expertise in library sciences, instructional technology, and computing support with the teaching and research needs of each college faculty and staff. Our cross-functional team framework reaches beyond functional and academic support to short and long-term projects such as documentation, website, and communications committees, as well as special projects such as email migration, the search for an asset management system, and other projects with targeted end dates. Because the support teams, the support team structure that we have very specific and well-defined position descriptions, those folks in each of those teams, their efforts are measured against those position descriptions. However, on a project team, those position descriptions may or may not apply. So what is really what is by default a function of someone on a support team, that kind of goes by the wayside when we start talking about the project teams.
All right, here's a little well, I guess a joke or a funny to begin with. And this is kind of makes it look like, are they really cross-functional teams or kind of dysfunctional teams? But the cross-functional teams, are basically more effective if you break down the silos across an organization. I know many of you probably have different parts of your organization who kind of operate in silos, and it's very, very difficult to get those folks to talk to one another. That's probably one of the most difficult things that you can come across when it comes to managing the cross-functional teams, is to break down those silos. Okay, the characteristics of a cross-functional team. We've already talked about a couple of these, but membership. The membership comes from different functional areas. In other words, you can have a team of a project team comprised of librarians, instructional technologists, staff throughout the campus, from the president's office all the way down to development. So they come from different functional areas. Sometimes these are project teams such as assembled for a task that a project of a defined length, for example. Just give you an example, we have we're implementing Citrix as a virtual software delivery environment at Lehigh right now, and we have a project team which is composed of folks throughout the organization putting this project together. So that's a temporary one. There's also project teams that can be not temporary, that can be ongoing things, such as some committees can even be considered project teams. So such as there could be sometimes permanent organizational teams, that take care of the ongoing tasks, such as I guess they can be committees or project teams and so forth. Members also are similar, often come from similar organizational levels. In other words, you may have the director level on there, as well as a assistant from the help desk, or a library assistant on the same project team, or cross-functional team. Okay, the advantages of cross-functional teams. One of the primary advantages is improved problem solving. You get a broader perspective, and you get broader opinions from different people from different areas of the organization, as well as different levels. The technical staff have a different way of attacking problems as the managerial staff. So when you combine them together, that comes into the diversity. You've got a wide range of, not only just the organizational levels these folks come from, but some folks come from different backgrounds, which also, give a different perspective, and so forth. And, as far as cross-functional teams, there's a little throw it over the wall mentality. And this comes back to, the silo idea, the idea of silos. When organizations have different teams that work in silos, they typically say, okay, I'm done with it, throw it over the wall to the next person, and then they take care of it with little interaction. And there's more thorough decision making as well when it comes to cross-functional teams. Some of the challenges, diversity also is a challenge as well. I see it a lot, and you've got the management level versus technical areas, and folks come in from a technical perspective with different ways of communicating. A lot of times with acronyms, for example, you have the director sitting there who doesn't really know much about some of the acronyms and some of the terminology that individuals give in these cross-functional teams, and it can be a hindrance, and they just have to be aware when they communicate in those ways. And also perceived differences in credibility. You've got folks that are leaders, and you've got folks, technical folks, who also there's different levels there. So you're going to have a different perception and credibility among the group as a whole. And also different perspectives on how the work gets done. Different levels within an organization, or different departments even, there's different perspectives on how the work gets done.
So establishing the work and project guidelines and timelines at the start are vital to ensure that every member is on the same page. This becomes increasingly important when folks are involved in other committee work, and might find themselves torn between committee deadlines and functional work deadlines. Defining roles might seem to be a relatively simple task, yet challenges can arise when any disagreement crops up. For example, I led a project myself a couple of years ago when we just wanted to create a single web page for our website, and the negotiation between what were the priorities of how we displayed things, what were the technologies that we deployed to display everything on that website, the content, even the wording became at times a struggle. Perhaps disagreements arise about design or content of a web page. Maybe one member feels that monthly email is sufficient communication with customers or constituents, while others believe a social media presence is warranted. I'm sure we have all dealt with clashing protocols. What is the answer? Do we negotiate? And when is negotiation initiated? At the very start of the project, the chairperson, it is incumbent upon himself or herself to set at least some loose guidelines by which folks can communicate and negotiate with one another. Yet when negotiation fails, the chairperson, even if he or she is not the manager or the highest ranking member of that committee, must make a final decision, hopefully by consensus.
Okay. Here are a few tips for the successful management of a cross-functional teams. The primary thing is you have to be upfront and be clear and set your objectives. You need to just be wide open and just make sure everyone's on the same page as to your as to the reason you're there. Just right off the bat, that's the first thing you need to do. You also need to have, if it's a project team, for example, that may need financial support, you need to build upper management support. You need to make sure that the higher level folks within the organization are in for what you're trying to accomplish. And you also have to look at it as being like a chairperson of a cross-functional team, or a manager or leader of a cross-functional team. You got to come across as not controlling. You have to let the team members themselves make the decisions. And as Bill alluded to earlier, you have to come to a consensus and negotiate in many cases, and sometimes make tough decisions if you're the leader of the team to get the job done. You also have to set clear timelines for deliverables. You have to make sure that not only that you set your objectives clearly, but your deliverables, you have to make it clear what you're there to do, as well as your timelines. I don't know if many of you have been members of committees or project teams in some cases where there's really not a clear defined timeline, and it seems to go on forever and nothing really gets done. So you have to make sure that timelines are established. And you also have to communicate clearly and motivate. I mean, I think that as far as a leader of a project team or a cross-functional team, I think you have to lead by example. So if you're positive and you have a positive outlook on what you're doing and you believe in what you're doing, then the team will follow. If you're negative, if you're what is it, negative Nancy or whatever, if you're negative, you also the team is most likely to kind of follow your tone. So that's very, very important to be positive. Also, you want to make sure that all members have opportunities to offer input. I don't know if many of you, I'm sure all of you have been in teams. Some folks are more quiet than others. Some folks, the quiet ones are the ones who are least likely to speak up. So as a manager or leader of a cross-functional team, you have to make sure that everyone equally voices their opinion. Teams are more functional that way. Understand the stages of the team development as well. I don't know, there are several different charts out there that show these, but that you go from establishing your initial guidelines to actually ending up as a high-performing team.
Now we get to the active part of our presentation. I'd like you to have a glance at what I'm going to be reading off to you, and consider some things as we move along over the next couple of minutes. So specifically, you have been asked to create a cross-functional project team tasked to evaluate software delivery systems and implement the most effective system for the university. The project team needs to include a mix of individuals who will be able to handle the technical implementation of the system, as well as deal with software licensing contracts and legal issues, academic labs, faculty and staff support, documentation, packaging applications, as well as system administration. In a moment, I'm going to be offering to you a slide with 12 individuals, each with a variety of expertise and experience at the university. From those 12, you need to select 6 folks who would be the best suited to work together on the project. Now, what we are going to do is I'm going to display the 12 for you, and we'll just take a glance at who they are, what their experience is, and as we're discussing, or as I'm discussing who they are and their abilities and their experiences, put into your mind who you think might be best suited for the project, And what I will do in later or in subsequent slides is give you my selections, Gale selections, and how the two of us came to a consensus.
Okay, so I'm here, and I think what we can do, guys, is if people want to contribute, they can raise their hands and we can try unmuting them, or they can type things in the question box and I can help report out.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. So here are the folks. And just for the sake of disclaiming, for a disclaimer, none of these people exist as far as I know. They came out of my brain. So what we have are John Blue in the upper left and reading to the right. He's a director of network services with 20 years at the institution. We have a subject librarian, Joe Smith, a help desk consultant, Mary Rhodes, with 4 years at the institution, another subject librarian with 12 years of experience at the institution, Rich Mellon, he's a network administrator with not quite as much experience as his director, but he is an alumnus of the institution. A desktop consultant, Kay Spears, with a number of years at the institution. Donnie Scott, he's a desktop support consultant with very limited experience, but he's very assertive and he's getting a lot of work done. Bob Bowie, he's an enterprise systems analyst with 10 years at the institution. An instructional technologist, Gene Cash, with 5 years at the institution. A systems analyst, John Thrace, with 25 years at the institution, and he's been very instrumental in getting a lot of things implemented at the institution. Holly Poole, the help desk supervisor, with 15 years. And another director, the director of client services with 20 years experience at the institution. Now, I'm not going to belabor the pluses and minuses of any of these folks, but as you can see, what we've done is we've not only provided you with a snapshot of their experience, but some of the qualities that they bring along, positive and potentially negative, depending on what your viewpoint is, of each of the individuals. So what we have are these 12 people from which we need to build our 6-member team. Does anyone have any questions? Well, here's my picks.
Oh.
That's okay. But as we move along, I wanted to give you an indication of why I selected these folks. As you can see, the numbers that are displayed correspond with the number that's adjacent to the folks on the list.
Go back.
No, it's okay. So number 3 is Mary Rose. She is a help desk consultant with 4 years of experience at the institution. And you might notice that her supervisor, Holly Poole, is number 11. She's the second from the bottom. Both of these folks, I thought, were very important to include on our list, primarily because they will be they will take the brunt of many of the questions, frontline questions that folks are going to be asking, and they need to know out of the box exactly what is being offered to their clients and what are the and they will also need to know and have a degree of expertise on how to handle not only the clients but the system. I've also included Lois Clark, a subject librarian, believing that it's very important to ensure that on the library side, what are some of the ideas and thoughts and expertise that the librarians can bring. Number 5 is Rich Mellon. He is a network administrator. We need to have him on there. We believe that it's important that he knows or he participates so that we have a clear thought and understanding of how this operation will work on a network. The next person I have is number 9, and she is Jean Cash, an instructional technologist. Again, bringing together the folks who we thought would give fresh ideas, fresh thoughts, and a slight change, perhaps in the viewpoint of how we should proceed with the implementation of the new system. And then finally, my selection was the Director of Client Services. I thought that personally, one of the most important aspects of this team was going to have a leader at a certain level, so that as the project moved forward, and if any questions arose from leadership, he would be able to address those questions, those current concerns, and any other issues that came not from the bottom up, but from the top down. So those are my picks, and let's take a look at Gale's. And now Gale has a slightly different perception of who we should have on there. Number one is Joe Smith. Now, he's also a subject librarian, but as opposed to my selection, Lois Clark, Joe has many more years at the institution, 25 years experience, which does bring a wealth of understanding and institutional knowledge. The next selection from Gale was Bob Bowie, an enterprise systems analyst. While I opted for the network administrator, Gale thought that it was important to bring in someone on the enterprise side to ensure that every nut and bolt was fastened as we move along with this project. The next was a consensus pick for us both, Jean Cash, an instructional technologist, and I already elaborated on the benefits of having her on the team. Next was John Thrace, who is the systems analyst, also with many years of experience at the institution. Next, the help desk supervisor, and I elaborated quite detailed, I hope, why I thought it was important to have the help desk represented on the team. Gale thought the same. And we did also agree upon the Director of Client Services. He brings the experience, he brings the ability to commiserate with the leadership. So now, let's take a look at our final consensus picks. And this is what we came up with. Many of these comments I've already mentioned before. You'll see the folks in red. I'm sorry, I have one little typo there. Not all of the folks in red are consensus picks. 9, 11, and 12 are consensus picks by both Gale and myself. 5 was my pick, because we did agree, we did come to a consensus that network infrastructure knowledge was vital for this project. Gale's pick for the subject librarian was, we selected Joe Smith because he has greater institutional knowledge. And then finally, we did agree, we did come to consensus that John Thrace, the system analyst, ought to be there because of his system knowledge and the fact that his experience is vital. So that's what we've come up with. And now, just to kind of bring it all together, I know this is kind of a snapshot and this is a whirlwind for you folks, but does anybody have any questions? Does anybody have any inputs that they want to offer right now? Well, okay. Let's move on then, so we can take another look at what our thoughts were as we were proceeding through this project. Okay, finally, the abstract. What were we trying to address here? So what we are hoping to do. Okay, so the abstract was, technology staff members in higher education tend to be multi-talented with a wide range of skills and personalities. This is necessary in the university environment due to the diverse nature of the clientele who support the teaching, learning, and administrative processes at the university. So how do we provide information technology support for such a wide range of clients? How do we support a diverse population? What skills are needed to support administrative offices, such as the president? So what we end up doing with our picks is we break down the silos. We have a diverse organization with multiple disciplines, so we bring the expertise, the experience, and the fresh ideas from that diverse organization in this project, so we can move forward knowing that we have all of the pieces that we need for a successful outcome. However, staff do need to be jacks of all trades. We need to have skilled technologically folks. We need to have folks who are open to collaboration, and we have to have effective communicators.
I'm going to pop in because we did get a question.
Please.
The question is there a negative to having a younger group, since this is a new technology and a big change? So and with more experienced leadership on the team. So is there a negative to having a younger group?
I'll say no, but Gale will elaborate.
I don't think so. I think, experience, I've been around for many, many years, and I think the experience that someone brings in as far as, their skills, their communication skills, and their understanding of people in general is a big plus with any cross-functional team. So I think experience and I think a wide range. I mean, younger folks have are more adept, I think, with newer technologies. But I think if you combine the mix between the two, it's a more effective team.
And if I can jump in real quick too to address that, from my experience, actually my present experience as a supervisor of someone who is fresh out of university. She just graduated a couple of years ago. What she has brought to our team is new ideas, a new outlook, or a different outlook on how to communicate with our clients, and which is, for me, a huge component of what we need to do in our capacities, in our work. So as I was looking through the folks on this list, and again, this just brings up the point that this is a fictitious list, but I was very drawn to having number 5, Rich Mellon, on the team. He only has 2 years at the institution. He can be perhaps portrayed as someone who's a little bit laid back, as I've demonstrated on the presentation, but he brings a new attitude, a new thought process, a new outlook to kind of balance the institutional experience that perhaps might be a little bit tried and true, but not as true for some of the younger staff and faculty that we need to outreach to. I hope that addresses your question.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we have our questions. Does anybody have any more?
I have a question about how many people are you drawing from? Sometimes when I put together teams or get put on a team, it feels like our staff is so small that I don't get to choose who's on the team. It's that person's position, by nature of what they do, puts them on the team, whether they're a good communicator or not.
Well, I think different institutions and different sizes of the departments have a big impact. I know I came to Lehigh from Albright College, a small liberal arts college, and we literally had a staff of like 5 and that included our systems folks, our telecommunications, and the support folks and everything. So I see where you're coming from there. I mean, I think Lehigh being a merged organization, we have within our libraries and computing, we have about 160. So
Wow.
we have a huge group to draw from. Plus from different, we all work closely together. Everything from the librarians to the computing to instructional technologists. So yeah, it is difficult to I think to assemble teams over and over again from such a small staff.
Mhm. And how do you find this was a question from the audience, how do you find the right balance between library and IT? They have very different perspectives at times.
I think if I can chime in, this is Bill. One of the things, if I can just elaborate on the prior question, and then I will dovetail into this question. One of the things that we have to be very wary of here at Lehigh, even if we have a slightly larger staff, we always have the same participants. There's always that core group of folks who are more willing to participate in these projects. So what we have to be careful to do is ensure that we bring in a greater or a wider diversity of participants over time, even if we have to kind of quote unquote compel them to a little bit. But once the projects get going, usually everybody kind of rolls up their sleeves and they go. To address that question, one of the things that we've had at Lehigh for a number of years now is the fact that we've had blended teams serving each of the colleges. Each of our college teams has desktop consultants, instructional technologists, and librarians. Speaking for the College of Arts and Sciences, which is the team I support and manage, we make a concerted effort throughout the course of the year to work collaboratively, on a variety of projects, small or large, to ensure that we know where we're each coming from and what are some of the client focuses that each of us have to be mindful of as we go forward. So because of that, many years of having a blended organization, and because we have the experience serving together for all of our clients, it's a little bit easier for us to bring these people together. Now, that said, for institutions that don't have those blended organizations, it's a matter of negotiation. It's a matter of ensuring that at the onset, like I brought up in the previous slide, that the chairperson has the autonomy to say, this is going to be the approach, but also have the flexibility to understand that sometimes that approach has to change midstream.
Anybody have other questions? Pretty quiet group today.
And I just wanted to add too, like the smaller institutions. I know, when I worked at Albright, we had a lot of faculty who were really, into technology, and faculty who wanted to get involved with some of the decision making regarding technology on campus. So, going outside of the IT area to bring in a different perspective is very good.
Okay, I think we're all set.
Well, thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. And
yes, thank you for a great session.
And there's our contact information. Feel free to, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, either of us.
Okay, well, fantastic. Well, I hope everybody, it's almost the weekend. I hope everybody has a great weekend. And you can watch for the recording next week. Thank you, Gale and Bill.
Thank you, folks.
Yep, thank you very much.
All right, goodbye.
Bye.